Good morning. Today is August 21st, 2024. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. I will call this meeting to order. If you do have your cell phones, I would ask that you silence them at this time. Okay. And if you could join us for the pledge and for the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please join me for the invocation. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning, Lord, and we thank you for this day. Father, we thank you for the beautiful day it is and for the sunrise that you gave us this morning. Lord, we ask that as we meet together here today to do the business of the county, that you would be with us. We ask for your guidance, for your direction, for your wisdom. We pray, Lord, that you would work your will through us. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Did we get a roll call, Kelly?
Commissioner Day,
Present.
Mr. Kenda.
Here.
Commissioner F.
Present.
And clerk to the board, Kelly here for present.
Okay, audience introductions. Start with you, Jordan.
Oh, Jordan Benson, IT.
Kayla.
Haley Day Wetmore.
Gotcha.
Board members.
Dave Schneider, Run Mountain Water and Sanitation.
Your turn, man.
Davenport Wetmore.
Courtney Davenport, Wetmore.
Alexis Inflow of the great city of West Cliff.
Yay.
I'll mention the Resources Director. Mr. Ken.
All right. Thank you all for that. And to Jordan's point, we have no one online. So, but if anyone goes to speak later, if you could identify yourself for the record, I would greatly appreciate that. Okay, any amendments to the agenda?
None from me. None, sir.
We have minutes for August 14th.
Move we accept the minutes from August 14th or approve the minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from August 14th. Any discussion on those?
None for me.
No.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries. Commissioner items, Commissioner Kanda.
Yeah, one big important one. And that is on Monday, they're gonna be fixing KRDO and turning it on. So it's real. They're also gonna put a test on KKTV channel 11. They can't turn it on. They're gonna check to make sure that the equipment's good, but they will be modifying the antenna. If it is, then they'll be turning it on shortly. Looks like, Lucas, the price on the antennas that they had given us before was gonna be less, so they're gonna redo it based on the equipment tests that they've done so far. So I don't take it to the bank that it's gonna happen, but they're scheduled to do it on Monday.
But 11 needs to wire, right? Or the cable.
Yeah, it still needs to be, only channel 13 will be turned on,
Okay,
if it's successful.
okay.
If there are any other glitches.
Awesome.
And by the way, they will see, some people will see KKTV when they do the test, because they'll be ghosting somewhere and they'll think it's on, but it'll fade off.
Okay. And these will both be digital now, won't they?
And
Cool.
sort of that's all I need to talk about.
All right.
I'll think of something later.
I'll tag on that before I turn it over to you, Lucas, just because of you brought it up there, Bunker Hill. There is a contractor that is going to be doing some upgrades up there for the AT&T site. So that apparently it's just cable upgrades and some other stuff. So no main hardware or anything like that. So
Yeah, and by the way, Matt Carver's on tap. He'll be up there with them on Monday. So, and they are cleaning out some things that they don't need in there.
Awesome, good. That'll be nice.
Commissioner Epp?
The generator is up and going at the Vertimont Tower. So everything is looking good. Batteries held for the hour and a half that they had that switched off, power switched off, so. At least the battery backups to all the emergency response stuff, so. Be good there. And then, Vernon and I ran down to Pueblo yesterday. And chatted with Sam DiNardo for about 4 hours. So ran through the management letter, ran through what they had left for work, which is the single audit basically of the federal grants. So we reached about 900,000 in federal grants for 23. So they have to do a cursory review of about 40% of those, so about $360,000 they have to go through. Receipts have to go through what we spent the money on and check that all out. So that's the last thing they have to do. They may be up for a day for any information they're seeking on site before next week, Thursday. So they're starting to dive into that. That'll be the last. We won't have a qualified opinion this year. Some things improved. Payroll regressed, based upon our 941 filings not getting done last 2 quarters of the year. Paid the tax, just didn't file the paperwork, so.
Because we lost everybody.
Yeah, because we had a 200% turnover rate, but anyway, or 100%, whatever you want to call it, don't really matter. So they'll be up next week, Thursday at 1 to give our audit report to us.
That's scheduled.
Yep, we did schedule their schedule, so. Thursday afternoon, the 29th, from 1 to 4, 1 to 5, however long it goes.
All right,
That's all I got.
okay, OEM truck should be back today. I took Robin down, I think I passed you in the hardscrabble. They picked that up yesterday afternoon. A reminder that we do have a BOH meeting this afternoon, as well as a workshop in West Cliff. And later today as well, time permitting, I'll try to sit in on a Zoom. CCI's got a wildfire insurance taking place today. And then tomorrow I will be in Salida for that Mountain District meeting. And the playground equipment for Wetmore here is now scheduled for this Friday, so I'll be down here to unload that on Friday. And a reminder, I'll put in a plug for Christie and for the Wet Mountain Heroes fundraiser that's taking place on Saturday. So if you guys haven't heard of that, you can probably find that on Facebook. That's taking place out at the Pines, I believe.
Isn't it at, all aboard Westcliff?
Okay,
I think it's at all aboard Westcliff.
all right. I stand corrected on that. I'm glad you told me I'd have went to the wrong place.
I think, pretty sure.
And that's all I've got for this morning, I think, have a couple of road issues that, we're working through. Okay,
And one other one here, the E911 board meeting tomorrow, 10:30. I'm not gonna be here, can't make it. You're gone. Lucas, you around?
Yeah, but tomorrow is the CES LAPC
Yeah.
training at the,
So they're gonna.
From
have
9
do
to 12.
something with that.
when did they,
Maybe they'll just put it out.
Oh, yeah, that's always the third Thursday. So, yeah,
And I'm booked on my.
now that one's a hard one to make because of our CES meetings being the same time. But I am gonna,
Always has.
I will be meeting with Debbie Bell, our Commissioner Bell, and Randy Lesher and Buck Wenzel, September 3rd, that Tuesday. So I'm having a separate meeting with them to go over E911 stuff, so.
Good. That'll work.
Okay. Kelly, do you have anything for us?
I do not.
Have no unfinished business, new business? First thing on our agenda would be the child welfare. Let me try that again.
Warfare.
Child welfare board services contract. Alexis, thank you for bringing this small stack of papers to us this morning.
You know, sir, I could have given you the sunset version of the copy where the ink is clearly running out, but I was just.
The darker ink is probably better, being we're that long.
I think you guys even got color copies. I just went with the standard sunset ink.
Okay,
Print. So the core services plan is something that we do every year. It's renewed every year. This says that it's for a 3-year plan, and it is, but they only really look at the 1 year and then we revise the next year if it needs to be done. So this is a core services plan that we have put together. It talks about the core services that we offer in Custer County. I submitted it to the state so that they can look for any things that I typoed or anything that I need to add or anything. And I got it back to present it to you guys. On page 3, the core 2 plan, we don't do that, because we don't belong to that. So we don't need to submit the core 2, plan. So what the core services do is they are services that we offer to families to help strengthen their own home, their practices, their children, and really focus on the core of a family. Core services cover different things such as supervised family time. So when a family has to have supervision during their interactions with their kids for whatever reason, that comes out of core plan dollars. We also do parenting classes. We do substance abuse treatment. We do mental health. There's a lot of things that core covers. So this is our plan for the county and how we plan on implementing core plans, but then also how we expect them to help our families, percentage wise and whatnot. So the first one of the options is the team decision makings. That's where we pull everybody that works with the family together so that we have a meeting and all that information is presented equally. So everybody knows the information. It reduces triangulation. It allows us to do real-time decision-making that's in the best interests of the kids and overall the family. That is one of the most underutilized tools that the department has, and that's nationwide. It's not just statewide. Really not having a good understanding of how those could be utilized. As a facilitator, when I was in Fremont, I know how those are really, really helpful. And we do utilize those more, quite a bit more. The second one is the family time that I talked about, that parenting time. In the hopes that it helps to reunify families quicker. It helps to reduce recidivism. It prevents it prevents more than 2 moves if any additional moves are needed. We try and do the one and then back home if they are removed. It also helps with adoption. The third option is in-home services, or not the third option, but the third program that we do is in-home services. That's where we go in the home and we teach them those skills that, like the parenting skills, and watch them put them in action and how they can enhance those skills and the lessons that they learn through other organizations that we partner with to help return kids home, or if kiddos are not returned home, just to strengthen the base that they already have. Life skills, believe it or not, there are a lot of people out there that don't understand the basic life skills such as budgeting, planning for emergencies, things like that. So that really allows us to get in there and help them develop those basic life skills, how to budget, how to coupon if needed, things like that. So those are the main ones that we do. We also, like I said, we partner with substance abuse. We partner with Rocky Mountain Behavioral Health to deliver substance abuse treatments, evaluations, UA monitoring. We also partner with Sol Vista to deliver mental health services, assessments. Rocky Mountain and Sol Vista also do parenting classes. They do fatherhood classes. And then we also contract with Savio House to do intensive family therapy. So there's a lot of community partners that we work with to really develop plans in conjunction with the family. So that team decision-making that I told you about earlier, that's really a family meeting to determine what their own strengths are and just how we can help enhance those. So those are the core services that we offer. If you look towards the back, I believe it's page 21, you'll start finding the budget for this. So the state allocated a budget for our core services funding. Last year, it was approximately 35,000. This year, it's approximately 62,000. Statewide, we've noticed there's an increase of need for these services. So those have been allocated appropriately. Just so you guys know, I suck at math. That's the truth of the matter. So these are in percentages, because percentages I can do, mapping, not my forte. So 10% of our 80-20 funding budget, that budget is $22,065. For the 80-20 funding, we expect to use 10% of that money for home-based intervention and 5% for intensive family therapy. Sexual abuse treatment, we don't get very much of those cases, so that's at a low percentage as well at 5%. Day treatment, we don't do. That would be Southern Peaks Regional Treatment Center. If we had to send a kiddo for day treatment to go there, we don't have a contract with that, and we've never used it. But if we need to, we could develop something. Life skills, again, that's at 10%, and county design services is also at 10%. That's those ones that are unique to the case that pop up and wouldn't need an ongoing contract, but we could develop one. C assistance, which is special economic assistance. In our county, we find we need that a little bit more. That allows us to help families like with gas vouchers to, if they're just need some gas, that allows us to do that. If they need a bike fixed for their kiddo, that's what C funds can be used for. It's cash, it's not cash on hand, it's monies that are on hand that aren't through the trail, or they are through the trail system, but they're easier accessible for the small things that we don't plan for. Aftercare services, it's always important to have aftercare service. For example, getting sober isn't the hard part, it's that maintenance piece. So being able to have funds for that. Mental health services, a lot of times we find mental health is the underlying issue with a lot of things. So you'll see that that's at a 20% allotment for that funding. And then substance abuse, that is also a pretty large one. So we put 15% of the budget at that. For the next page, that's the 100% funding summary. We did the same percentages for that pot of money, which is at $40,223. The reason why we did that is it doesn't change the funding source for the need of service. So mental health is just as important regardless of the funding source. So we kept the percentages the same throughout that piece. The final budget page, if you look, it's actually 2 pages. It for some reason went off onto the second page. It is the exact same as those first 2 pages, just put on 1 page with the function codes. There aren't function codes for sexual abuse treatment, county design services, or aftercare services. And the state at this point said not to worry about that. And when that comes up, we'll have those codings. All that is like when you do the billing, you have to put in a code on how to bill it. That's what those codes are. So the core services, the things that we will do is on page 25. It basically states that we're going to follow the law. We're going to follow volume 7 as defined for child welfare and what governs us. We're going to make sure that we stick to the plan. We're going to make sure that we work with the family to ensure all this is taken care of when the need is identified. Page 26 is a sample contract for a core service program. I can tell you currently we have contracts for Sylvista, Rocky Mountain Behavioral Health, and Savio House. I'm going to be writing one for Good Neighbor in Canyon City. They also do some virtual stuff for us. And then also some fatherhood programs. One of the things that are the most underutilized in child welfare is ensuring fathers are a part of the family, whether they are in the family unit or they're not. I don't care if they're in Georgia. They are legally required to be notified that the department's involved with their family. And fathers are the least engaged out of all the family members. So that's one of our huge performance enhancement plans from the state, and feds are really pushing that. So fatherhood engagement is huge. So that's really has a contract. That's our core service plan for the 2024-25 year. I know it says it's 2027, but I'm sure I'll be seeing you guys again in another year. If you guys could approve that, I would appreciate it. It needs the chairman's signature on page 3, I believe it might be 2. Page 2. And then Laura will sign that and then we will get it off and submitted to the state so they have a copy of it for all of the county, well, just for our county, but they're collecting 64 counties.
Thank you. You gave a nice succinct description of those 28 pages. Thank you.
Tried to make it as easy as possible on you.
And your percentages did add up to 100%. I would like to
Yeah.
tell you that, so.
10s and 5s and 20s I can add, but you get points in there and letters and
And all the numbers are supposed to add up correctly.
I'm a social worker, not a mathematician.
Thank you, Alexis.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the child welfare core services contract.
I'll second, discuss it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the child welfare. I cannot say that word today. The child welfare core services contract today. Discussion here at the table.
I got a couple quick ones.
Sure.
You said last year was 35,000, that one,
Roughly, yes.
how much is left? And when does it expire? Is it fiscal year, July, state, or what?
It ends at the fiscal year and we start with the new budget. It's one of those, if you don't use it, you lose it type of deal.
So, when's the fiscal year? Is it the Colorado fiscal year? Is it our fiscal year? Is that year in?
What's the difference?
July and December.
July.
Okay,
July is ours.
so it expired already. So how many dollars did we not spend?
I don't have that number for you. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Just was wondering how busy we were. And why they increased it to 60K.
I honestly, I don't have that answer. I had finished this core services plan and submitted it to the state, and the state came back and said, we revised the form. Yours is all wrong. So I had to redo it. So I honestly, I don't have those numbers.
Okay, so they have to approve it, yeah.
I'm sorry,
They still have to approve it,
yes, after you guys sign it.
right? And so we've been operating in October and August without it approved so far, right?
So the core services plan, the last one that we did was for a 3-year block. It is still approved,
Okay.
but they overlap like that.
Okay, but the money's different now.
Yeah.
Okay, then I noticed that the FTEs were not filled out.
The what?
The FTEs, the cost per head. How
Oh,
many
the
FTEs
overhead
doing the
cost?
job? Mhm.
That's because we don't have an FTE employee.
Well, you all get paid. Somehow we spend the money. It's all just on contract.
But that's not out of core contract. That's not out of core dollars. So that's asking for, what page is that on?
19, it just says FTEs funded with core services program, care services program.
That's for overhead costs, correct?
Not that it doesn't read like that. It's just saying it's the
Oh,
program.
okay, so that is for a case aid. We do not have a case aid at this time.
Okay, so the FTEs that are being spent on this are just county funded dollars.
There's
that
no
you all have
FTEs
paid.
that are being spent.
You cost us money to pay your salaries, all I'm pointing out. There's somebody has to be paid to do the job, right?
Well, it says here, if you have an employee whose position is funded
By the.
using core, and that employee spends 25.
Right.
So I would take it that we would have to have this filled out if we had an FTE
Right.
or
Or more
we had
than
an employee that
25%
was
somebody doing-
just doing that and only
That
that.
sounds like.
So my
we're-
salary is not paid out of.
No, I know it isn't. I know. But I was wondering why we didn't have to have one. That was all. So,
Because we don't have an employee
Right.
for the FTE.
Right. to do this specific job.
Correct.
Okay. And then, so $60,000 is what the new base is gonna be to manage events now. To spend the money on services
Correct.
from here forward. Okay, that makes sense. That clears it up. You're gonna have to learn some math.
I can
I'm a
math.
little worried about it now.
I can math. I just, avoid it with all haste.
How much time do we spend on adoptions here in Custer? Is it a lot or?
The last adoption, to my understanding, was in 2019.
Okay.
So we haven't spent funding for adoption in quite a while.
Okay, all right. Cause that was another requirement of the FTE.
Yeah.
Cause they spend 50% of their time on adoptions.
You did explain the day treatment that you're not doing because somebody else is doing it.
Well, yes, there are multiple counties that don't offer day treatment. If we needed to do a day treatment, I've had a meeting with the state and they would help assist with that. Because we're such a small county, we don't do
Right.
day treatment, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Public comment. Hearing and seeing none. Those in favor of approving the child welfare core services contract today signify by saying aye.
All
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries.
if you could, let me know what we left on the table on the 30K.
Okay, I can reach out to the state and find out.
But we only use what we need to use, right? I
Correct.
mean, this isn't like a,
Well, make sure all I'm doing is making sure that, if they go to 60K, that's a big change. And if we didn't use 15K last year, that's half, I'm wondering why they have to,
oh, yeah, we still may not know
may not.
why the state does what they do. But yeah, no, it makes sense. May come more from a standpoint of how much need we have actually out in the county compared to whether we left money on the table or not. I mean, she would have used it if she needed to, but if we don't need to use it, it's there for other counties, or maybe there was
Maybe not.
money left in the state program overall
Maybe that's.
from last year, and they decided to up it because, or they decided to up it because there was, people ran through it.
That's right.
And we didn't run through it maybe, but
And if you only
That's
have
interesting.
30K, yeah, you're a little reluctant to do some things you could have done. You just don't want to overspend.
well, or you
So-
want to make it go through the whole year, right?
That's right.
But I would imagine, yeah,
So if they upped it, there's money there, we can do other things with it, sounds like, if, that we didn't do before, that's all. To see it.
yeah.
If there's 60, if there's 30 more K stuff, that would be very useful. It sounds like you may need it, that would be good. If it works out.
Kick a couple dollars over for ink purchase.
Get them a.
It's no go down that road.
See what you did there. Ben.
Core Services Inc.
Ink is expensive these days, so, hey.
Okay, next victim.
All right, we have the waiver of variance application fees for Round Mountain Water and Sanitation District.
Is there an option to double it? Is that what they're?
Yeah, there is. We can do that. It takes us two of us.
All right, would you like to speak to that, sir, now, or Dorothy?
Start us out.
Brown Mountain is gonna purchase a strip of property from the McGuires that will allow them to add an additional holding pond for the water that they're needing to supply to the county. Most of their purchases are from, individuals in the county. What they would need to do is do a variance for an undersized lot. So if they're pulling in this little strip of land, and I think I gave you guys a copy of that, so they're gonna purchase that little strip of land from the McGuires to allow them to add an additional holding pond. So what we need to do is to create an undersized lot once that purchase goes through. Then after that is done, once we go through that process, create the undersized lot, then we need to vacate that lot line so that it brings that little strip of land into the Round Mountain parcel. To do that, we'll have, we'll take the undersized lot application and have a hearing with the planning commission. From there, I can do, the vacation of lot line for them, which will need to be done. So we're looking at a total of $500 for the hearing. It's $400, and then what the administrative costs to vacate that lot line is $100.
And forgive me, I had it before, but I'm not seeing it right here. This isn't over there just off of Pines. Where's this at?
This is south of West Cliff. Just past the subdivision. I would say about a half mile from Ace. Over on the bluff side. So Round Mountain owns 20 acres.
On the west side.
It'll be on the west side.
I had this at one time, so thank you.
I don't have that.
So Division of Water Resources is. We're under a compliance order to put this in. It was part of a provisional part of our 2020 decree. We purchased a ranch for the water rights down the valley. So we need this, or Division of Water Resources thinks we need this to properly administer our augmentation plan for
Okay,
the district. So we tried to stuff the 150 acre foot reservoir on the 20 acres we had. We just couldn't do it. They rejected our first design. So we need to basically add a larger footprint. So
So it has to be a pond or what breed?
Yes. we're storing, so the water that was used to water the ranch has been reallocated to municipal use. Essentially, we use that water to pay the state back for water that we pump out of the priority. So the state, well, was actually some residents in the valley challenged our our decrees saying that you can't operate, right now we use Deweese as our operational storage.
Mhm.
They said, they convinced Division of Water Resources that in very certain circumstances and a unusually dry year, that there would be a time where there'd be potential of an injury to senior water rights if we pumped out a priority and couldn't all book up water Great Creek because there might be a dry stretch.
Right.
So Division of Water Resources said, we need a reservoir storage vessel above your points of diversion, which the lowest point of diversion is our gallery well
Yeah.
on that same parcel. So we're literally 10 feet above our points of diversion there if we put that reservoir there.
How big is it?
150 acre feet, about 8 acres of surface.
I'm surprised it's more.
Now we have another suppression pond, don't
Shit.
There you go.
we? I doubt if they'd let us use that.
Well, yeah, we've already navigated that. We're fine if we get credit for the
Right.
water. that's there.
Mhm.
Water.
You gonna have fish in
No, it's
it?
gonna be clean. I don't want anything. No touching.
Just clean it up.
Just-
To that point, I guess everybody should know, since you deal with clean and dirty water, this is clean water.
This is, yeah, and like I said, it's not. It's banked water.
Banked
So
water.
at the end of every month, I go through a bunch of paperwork. And that tells me how much I have to release. That calls your line good. He
Yeah.
physically goes down and releases down the valley.
They should have used the Adams pond before they filled it in.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm stay far away. from
Okay.
This is, so just to let you know, and it might be something that in future years might be a topic of discussion. That of course, the district is designed to supply water and sanitation within the district boundaries, which is essentially West Cliff, Silver Cliff. We have offered bulk water for several years. And that is now becoming a significant source of water for county. We have almost 500 bulk water users, 90% of them are within Custer County and outside of our district boundaries.
Wow.
We used to, when I first started here 11 years ago, we sold 50,000 gallons a month. That was like a month. And we are now selling 300 to 350,000 gallons a month, which is significant water, and we don't get any credit back. Fortunately, our decree allows us to have water used to what's called extinction, which means it could go to the moon if you wanted to. It's just for us in management, that water's gone. We don't get any return credits. So right now we're using it as an income stream because we do have it. The good thing with the reservoir is it'll give us that much more capacity to allow, we can still double the size of West Cliff, Silver Cliff, and still offer
Okay.
outside bulk water. So it's a good move. It's just a rotten time for us because it seems like we're doing great big projects all at the same time. We did partner with Upper Arkansas River Conservancy District because we couldn't afford the whole thing. So they're paying for a third of the cost for a third of the storage.
Yeah, I've been following them. Good deal.
So I appreciate the consideration. Waive those fees. Because it is a benefit for the communities and for the county.
You sure?
Is your plan when we get the sanitation part of the sewer system upgraded and going correctly, that we'll start allowing the septic pumpers to dump in there, or?
No, the county is out, has always requested that, but when I say bring your checkbook, because you're gonna become partners, that's usually when the counties run for the tall grass. So design to accept that type of septic would significantly ask or require a significant redesign. Because of the septic that you're putting in is so concentrated, because you pull all the water out.
Right. And you
So-
require a lot more ground.
Right, it's a much more robust treatment design to do that.
I mean, you can get on 40 acres. And,
Oh, yeah, you
Yeah,
you
you
have
do
to
it.
go to the mechanical treatment plant. Well,
yeah, that's,
now you quadruple the price of installation and triple the price of operations. So. And Round Mountain doesn't have an interest right now in taking over all the septic tanks in Custer County.
When I talked to Holyoke's, city manager who designed and put together their treatment system, he said that it would not be feasible for the county to do something like that unless we could partner with Round Mountain. He was very adamant about that.
So if that perfect world would ever exist, it would definitely be a partnership, a significant financial partnership from the county.
So the installation of this pond and the associated cost does that drive your tap fees up as well?
So how we fund everything. So that's always a challenge when, problem with my district is it's where all the poor people live. Craziness of Custer County is, I've heard that it has per capita the highest amount of 1% wage earners living in the county per capita. But they don't live within my district. They live in trophy homes along the edges of the valley. So my median household income is 41,000 some odd change, half of state average. So, and you have 720 taps. So it doesn't take a real math genius to realize that that's not a big break to squeeze when you're doing significantly multi-million-dollar projects. So how we're paying for the reservoir is the ranch that we bought 20 some odd years ago. It took 20 years to pull the water rights off of that. And fortunately, I was able to sell it right at the top of this last hot market. And we got $1.5 million for that 320 acres of dry land. So we ended up coming out with about 1.1 million on that. So that earmarked projected the cost $3.5 million to put that big pond in. So upper arc is basically punching in $1 million. We got a $500,000 grant from CWCB, and I'm still scratching for about another 500,000.
passing the can, aren't you?
That's right.
And we're kind of hoping to add to some of those in Silver Cliff. Self-help housing. Which again, doesn't fund you guys
Right.
very well.
So,
But
right
a lot of
now-
that they don't have a lot of money coming in. I didn't know either, one of my concerns is that tap fee for them coming in on those self-help houses as well.
Yeah, well, we're darned if we do, darned if we don't. So
Sure.
my argument is any expansion, so all the stuff that's in the ground has been paid for over the last 40 some odd years by our existing constituents. So my argument is any new stuff coming in needs to be paid just like they paid for their stuff. The new people coming in and requiring new extensions need to pay for their stuff. So that is where the system development fees come from. But you would say higher taps. If we start, taps that's what always gets beat up, but we can't not collect those. Because it's expensive to put in water and wastewater. It's just.
It is.
You got a different
You
problem.
can't
too.
whistle down there. I mean, that revenue stream needs to come from someplace.
Yes.
And I would argue it's more equitable for the new people coming in to pay for that new stuff to bring the existing water and sanitation to them.
Yeah, your other issue though, that you've explained, I don't know if everybody understands it, is you've got to replace the pipeline in order to get that expansion. You can't
That's the
from the
next,
bottom up, not from the top.
we get these two issue sanitation and the reservoir down, we immediately have to go to upsizing
Right?
existing
Pipe.
water distribution lines. The two old towns have their own systems. West or Silver Cliff started in the 1870s. We still use some of those 1870 mains. West Cliff was put in machines. No forward thinking, of course, just whatever was at. So everything is completely undersized. And yeah, we have to, right now that's estimated at $15 to $18 million project. I have no idea. That's a lot of big stuff.
Is that the entire pipeline or just some parts of it?
Mostly, almost the entire, anything that's less than 6 inches needs to be replaced. And then we need another, at least 500,000 gallons of finished water storage. All it takes is time and money.
I suppose we're kind of getting off on a rabbit trail there, but.
Well,
I
no,
took it
because it
there.
justifies the reason why we're gonna give the waiver.
Well, that's
If-
true.
If we have that many people that are buying bulk water that are out in the county. Granted, we can take a few of their tax dollars, but there is people who don't grab any water from it, so why are they paying for the variance fee?
What is the fee? And
Gotta be
It's
$500.
$500.
So that's, of course, the other thing is, we only get property tax from people within our district, we don't get county-wide.
Correct.
So, quite honestly, property tax pays for 80% of our yearly budget. So we survive on fees that we collect.
Anything else from you?
Nope.
I would entertain a motion.
I move we want to waive the variance fee, application fees for Round Mountain Water and Sanitation District.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to waive the variance and application fees for the Round Mountain Water and Sanitation District. Any discussion here at the table?
No, none from me.
So, Dorothy, so 400 of that is the variation and 100 is the vacation.
Yeah.
So do you want to add the vacation?
So, yeah, 100 of it is for the administrative fees for the application of lot line, and 400 is for the creation of a undersized lot for that variance.
Would you like to,
It was included when we pluralize the fees, if you want to spec, you probably on the motion needs to have both fees listed.
I took it that it was both fees.
I'm
and
gonna
included
say,
Yes.
I'm gonna say that your motion is inclusive of both of those fees. Okay, that is understood. Okay, public comment? Those in favor of waiving the variance application fees for Round Mountain Water and Sanitation, signify by saying aye.
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 I will say aye. Hesitant, but I will do
I
that.
appreciate that.
That motion carries. Next item, Dorothy, you're still with us here, the Mallory SB 35 subdivision waiver.
Yes, the Mallory's did have a hearing with the planning commission, which was unanimously approved to do a subdivision waiver on their property to allow them to get a well on the larger part of their property, which is approximately 35 to 36 acres. They currently have their well, let me back up. County Road 274 splits their property. So they have 20-some acres on the one side that they have their well and they have their house. What they're wanting, since the county road does split their properties, the 35 acres on the other side of County Road 274, which I believe would be the north side of County Road 274, they're wanting to put, have the right to put a well there since the county road split that, which makes it a subdivision waiver. And I just need your signature. If you would approve that, that would be wonderful.
It's zoned for that anyway. Side.
Say that again?
It's zoned for that, right?
Yeah, it's a 35-acre lot, so as long as, I just want to make sure I have your signature on that, so they have no problem going forward.
I move that we accept this. You said that the planning commission made it, they've already ruled on it.
They decided in the hearing that since that other side was a 35-acre lot, they didn't need to move forward with it, and it was kind of a wash. We ended the hearing. But they did get as far as voting. They all voted to allow it. And then it was decided that it didn't need to be a waiver. So it's kind of,
That's what I'm looking at. Why do we have to vote on?
well, I am asking you guys to sign it so that she doesn't have any problem going forward getting a well on that property. Right now, it's one parcel. We need to split the parcel.
Right.
It's gonna be a subdivision. of
Micro, it's called a micro subdivision.
Kind of
whatever you
a-
wanna call it. But that, we've never gotten into that before with that sign.
Because
We
by
have-
doing this, they would be creating one undersized lot. One lot would stay 35 acres, but the other lot would only be 20 acres in a
Correct.
35
what it
acre
is?
zone.
Okay, I was misunderstanding. I thought it was reading it, limited to 35.
So,
Okay, makes sense.
because the lot now is 50 acres, or 55 plus
It says, is it this one?
61.
61 acres.
Okay,
And then they are in a, I believe they're in a 5-acre.
That was my question.
So
It's already been, from a water point of view, it's okay.
I believe they're in zone 4, so they can do 5-acre
Right.
lots there.
Okay, that's right. So. That's
But
why it wouldn't
It's
matter.
getting
to
more
me.
difficult and more difficult for them to get a well if something is split like that. And I just want to make sure they don't have problems with the state
From
water
the
resources
upper Arkansas,
to get that well.
from the upper Ark point of view, it's not difficult. I mean, it's already zoned that way. So.
When they go get the next well permit, they're gonna need something. Because it was one parcel and they're gonna make it.
Sure, you have to identify, we have to make it 2 parcels.
Correct.
That's a given.
So that's your motion?
I move that we, approve the subdivision one.
I'll accept. Or I'll second.
okay, so I have a motion on the floor to approve the Maori, SB 35 subdivision waiver. That would be Senate Bill 35. Any further discussion here at the table? Public comment? Make sure we still don't have anybody there. Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Next item that we have would be CTSI annual report. Thank you, sir, for patiently waiting here for us this morning.
You all have the printouts already, it looks like.
Yeah. Would you like to pull up a chair?
Sure. Sorry, I just sit right here.
Yeah, sure. Speak loud.
Okay, thanks for having me. I'm newer with CPFI and Steve the charge with loss control division, so. My division does a lot of training audits, things like that, loss control services, so. Today we're just gonna go over this document that everything in here was just pulled from the 2023 fall membership packet. but it's just a way to kind of go over the loss trends for the county. Compared to the pool a little bit and just give an update on financial health of the pools that you are member owners of, so. Thank you for continuing to be, members of CPSI pools for CAP and workers' comp. And we'll get into it here with, our CAP pool on the first page. So the CAP pool as a whole, has ended 2023 with 14.5 million in total equity. And then, as you know, one of the benefits of being a member of the pool is we're able to distribute some funds back to our member counties. So for all of the member counties in the CAP pool, 2024, we were able to distribute 500,000 in equity back and then 1 million in interest back. And we'll kind of break that down for what that looks like for Custer County too. When we are looking at what your contribution amount is, on this graph here, we look at the 3 oldest years. So you can see those for Custer County have been fairly low loss years on the graph there. So that kind of impacts your contribution amount by basically we apply a loss factor multiplier that's less than 0. So the lower your losses are, the more of a discount that you receive that way based on your actual losses. So what that looks like for Custer County this year, your base contribution, and this is for just the CAP pool here, so liability, auto, property, things like that. Your base contribution before any of those refunds back or deductions was 311,799, and then based on your very good loss history for those 3 oldest years of 2019 through 2021, the loss factor that was applied was 0.775, so that that decreases your base contribution right out of the gate by almost 23%. And then interest return to the county was 6,958, and equity return was 3,705. So that left your 2024 net contribution per cap at just over 233,000.
So our next 3 years are gonna go up because of 2020, well, 21, 22, and 23 are up.
As far as the loss factor that would be applied, that would contribute possibly to a rise, but it depends on the insurance market overall too, in terms of how that actually will shake out in the end.
Where did you read those numbers? What chart? You on?
Yeah, those I just took out of the membership packet from the 2023 conference, so you might not have those numbers right in front of you, but that's where they're originating from. So then if we take a look at that first page with the bar charts, the very next page, this is just looking at for Custer County specifically, where are your cap claims coming from? So that top one is just the number of claims by each department. So you can see law enforcement and road and bridge are kind of head and shoulders above the next closest departments, which that's pretty typical. That's typically what I tend to see with all of our counties, just because they have the most exposure in terms of cap claims. So the bottom chart on that page just looks at the severity by department. So that's the actual dollars spent on those claims. And there it looks a little bit different. There were a couple of larger claims out of administration, and then law enforcement and road and bridge follow right behind there. So I'll get into what those were here in just a second, and like the claim specifics are going to be just a couple of pages ahead here. We'll get to those. So then the next page is just looking at things a little bit differently in terms of, instead of department, what were the types of claims that were generated. So you can see the top chart there, that's just the frequency of what types of claims did you have? The first two, both vehicle related, so. Striking a fixed object, animal strikes. And then the bottom chart there is going to be your severity in terms of dollars. And that's where we see, there's errors and omissions, and then vehicle, claims. And then some employment practices type claims, so that's just, you know, where the actual dollars are spent, and then those next pages kind of run through by department, some of the specifics of the claims. I won't go through all of those, but you can kind of see the very first two claims on there under administration kind of made up the lion's share of those costs. There's the employment practices and then the errors and omissions again, so. That's kind of the capital for, Custer County over the past 5 years, and then just to give you some reference compared to our other member counties, that's going to be that horizontal bar graph, just showing, you know
What page?
that will be,
6.
6?
yes. Thank you. So this is just looking at the entire capital, so. The thing I like to highlight here is there are an awful lot of vehicle claims. If you look at that top chart that looks at just the frequency. And we have been doing a lot of defensive driving classes. I always like to offer those up just as a way to try to combat those claims a little bit, the vehicle related claims. And then down in severity on the bottom chart there, you can see that top line. Fatality is the largest cost. That's again for all of our cap pool members. And those dollars come from a very small number of claims. Those are the kinds of things that you see making headlines. And it's usually use of force type things, law enforcement related, so.
So if you look at Custer County per capita, are we pretty good, are we small, we don't have a lot of claims.
No, I mean, overall, you know, kind of looking at that very first page again. That's probably the best indicator. If you just want to look at, you know, get a quick snapshot, you know, what you're doing very well.
Might have more population, more should.
Right. Yeah, I mean, overall, doing very well. Then the pool as a whole, the severity again, after the, that small handful of fatality cases that makes up a large number of the dollars, then you get into the more traditional common things, hail and wind. Vehicle claims shows up on that last blue bar on there, so other than that, the arrest related and suicide or attempt, those are typically coming out of our jails, detention facilities, things like that. Lawsuits that arise out of those. And then I won't go into any great detail, but the next page after that, it lists out for the pool as a whole. Just the frequency of different claims in some of these categories and the dollars associated with that. So again, the thing I like to kind of call attention to on that is if you kind of just glance through there, you will see there are a lot of different vehicle related categories that show up there. If you added those all together, you know, vehicle related is going to rise quite high on the list if we lump those all together. So, any questions on the cap pool?
So I look at this list here and I go 99% of this could have been prevented by one action or another. So, and I know our HR manager and I have talked about this, and I come from a very construction background where we can prevent most stuff if we just pay attention, train, get involved, be involved. And some of this is very unacceptable to me and should be unacceptable to all of us because we can't afford it anymore. Our prices continue to rise, and I know we've got a $300,000 claim just for 2024 that got paid out. So we have got to start bringing back our claims, we gotta have better behavior. We have to have better overall, it's not just Custer, it's every county that's part of this. So what are we gonna do, or how are we going to work together as not just counties, but even within our own county, because we're a part of it, but we've got to do better, so. We got to drive our costs down, we're getting people hurt. Either emotionally or physically, and then we're damaging equipment that has just quadrupled in price or doubled in price over the last 4 years, and and then we have lost time and we have lost work, and and every county in Colorado is that way because we're one of the 47th lowest tax state in the union. So, what are we gonna do to prevent this? And I'm not just asking you this, I'm asking as a community, as a commissioner, we've got to do better.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, one thing that comes to mind in terms of something that CTSI has been actively working on recently, we have, probably a couple of months ago, we had a meeting that I think all of the county sheriffs were invited to participate on. I don't know if you've heard anything that came out of that, but basically, we're trying to find some ways to work specifically with sheriff's departments and law enforcement, just because, you know, that, I don't know what page it's on, but that fatality line on there, that very small number of claims, that's that huge percentage of cost. Trying to find ways to address that through training, policies, all those kinds of things, de-escalation and things like that. So we're trying to get, I think, some consensus building with the sheriffs across the state, trying to address those claims. And also there's the new jail standards bill that was passed. So I know that CTSI has been working on, you know, how are we going to be able to help counties implement that too? So those are some things, I guess, specifically, there's been a lot of focus on law enforcement. So those are some specific things that CTSI has been working on. And then, you know, like I said, with the vehicle claims, just really trying to encourage defensive driving training, and yeah, just, you know, for everybody at the county, just keep beating that drum. You know, we know that we can do better, and supporting that culture of safety.
Okay. And it's not just safety, it's human resource related, because that can climb up there high as well. Omissions, errors, from terminations to hiring practices to whatever else it may be, but we're
Yeah.
definitely in an HR defined world anymore, and those rules are coming at us fast and furious from both a federal standpoint and a state standpoint, so.
Right. Yeah, and CTSI, we do have a human resources consultant, Siri Benzel. I
Yep.
know.
You know her
Both
well.
talk to her
Yeah, so-
very well.
I mean,
Bob's on a
it's-
first name basis.
Yeah, it's a great resource to try to, you know, get ahead of those. And then there's also I think we call it pre-loss legal consultation. I think it's a half an hour or an hour phone call with an attorney that's very familiar with the issues that counties face. So just trying to, you know, once you identify, hey, this might be a problem, just trying to get out ahead of it with, you know, letting Siri know we're using that pre-loss legal service and things like that.
Sure, and then awareness training, things like that, programs that we can get about and talk to Siri about something.
Right? Yeah. Good questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now we can move on to the workers' comp pool. So that's going to start out again with that line graph, just like we did with the cap pool. So same thing here in terms of how we calculate your contribution amount. We look at the 3 oldest years again to apply a loss factor, and then we have, you know, being a part of the pool, there was 3 million in equity distribution that came back to all members for 2023. So I guess before I get into that, for Custer County, we have, you know, whenever this is recorded, probably almost a year ago now, 130 employees. 60 statutory volunteers, probably search and rescue type. Yeah, and then 20 appointed board members that would be covered under workers' comp here, so. A total of 210 folks. And again, we look at the oldest 3 years. And base contribution for this year before any adjustments was 130,298. And then the loss factor applied 0.92. Equity return to the county 30,370. And that left your net contribution at 89,504. So with workers' comp being in the pool again, you have the loss factor that kind of keeps you in a real narrow range in terms of what your contribution is going to be. So we know that even when you have these higher loss years that are going to roll on when 2023 hits. That loss factor, it only goes so high, so we know that, you know, it's not gonna double, it's a pretty narrow range that we're able to keep you within, which kind of helps with budgeting and all those things, you know, so. That's one of the benefits of being a pool member. And then also, you know, compared to traditional insurance, we don't have deductible for workers' compensation and things like that, so. The pooling concept, it is a little bit different and kind of make life a little bit easier for you as a county.
We have your new numbers now for our budget discussion that we're gonna have this next month. So we know what those costs are, right? That you.
Well, I don't think they've released their.
I thought we should.
When they're gonna release those numbers.
Yeah, I'm not directly involved with all that. I know that they're going through renewals and getting reinsurance.
So when will we get it, you know, maybe that's just a
Yeah, I don't.
question.
I think traditionally.
We're gonna need to know if our costs have doubled or it's less. Sounds like it's gonna be less this year.
I think traditionally it's been at the fall membership meeting. Which I don't think it's in early December this year, but
Yeah,
yeah.
Now, way out. And
that's what we need.
have some target on the budget.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it sounds like, given what you said, it should be, based on your percentage, it should be similar to what it was last year and last.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at that graph, you've had, you know, four great years in a row, and you're still gonna have 3 really good looking years on there in terms of
In both cases,
your workers' comp plans.
workers' comp and the other.
Yeah, so that's one factor, and I don't know,
Okay.
you know, the rest of them, but yeah, I mean, as far as the things that are in your control, you're doing really well, so. So the next page with the bar charts again, just looks at things the same way. First looking at what departments are these workers' comp claims generated from, so. Again, law enforcement, road and bridge, no surprise there, those are almost every county I go to, those are gonna be the two that we see claims coming from. And then in terms of the dollars spent, the severity. Law enforcement really is almost 10 times the next closest department, which is the health department, so. After that, I mean, you're down to $6,000 in a few departments over 5 years, so that's outstanding. Very good work on that.
When it
And then-
says,
Yeah,
excuse me, when it says training here, what frequency of claims, what does that mean?
yeah, that's a great question, so. I've been doing, you know, involved in safety for 20-some years, and my first job was at a prison, and when I looked at their injuries and saw all these training injuries. I had the same question, and it's from use of force training
Okay,
with law enforcement, and I continue to have conversations with trainers that teach the training. And it's one of those things that they really need to do it at a high level when they're in the training environment, and that's a lot of times when
Risk.
injuries happen, so.
okay. Makes sense.
I keep talking to trainers and thinking, boy, there's gotta be a way we can reduce this, but I think I've kind of come to live with the fact that if this didn't happen during training, there's a pretty good likelihood it's gonna happen, you know, when you're in the situation for real, because it's just going through the same types of things that our law enforcement are going to be doing as part of their normal course of duties.
And if you didn't train, it'd be even higher.
Right,
You can't stop.
right? Yeah. Yep. So then the next page just looks at things a little differently again, and instead of looking at the department, it's just looking at what was the type of workers' comp claim. So you can see in terms of frequency, slip, trips, and falls are more than double the next closest type of claim, which then is training, and then lifting after that. And then looking at the severity of where the dollars come from. We're back to having vehicle related things is the number one there. I think those were both out of law enforcement, if I recall. And those details are kind of in the other sheets that are tucked in here. And then the training is the second category on there. One thing that did stand out to me is that you did have, you know, fairly high number of slips, trips, and falls, or they definitely made up a substantial portion of your of the severity there. So I don't know the circumstances of all of those, but you know, there's a lot of times there are things that we can do to address and reduce the number of slips, trips, and falls, whether it's maintaining walkways, just general housekeeping of trip hazards, cords, rugs, things like that. It tends to be very, very boring and basic things, but they do generate claims, and those claims can be pretty significant at times because we just, you know, we don't bounce that well as humans, so when we fall even from the same level, it can be a fairly substantial injury. And you kind of see that on the next page that gets into all the details. There are some slip, trip, and fall cases on there, but in terms of the percentage of your losses, they're a substantial percentage of that. And even the ones that are not, you know, some of them have $0 associated. They always have the potential to be more severe. I look at those as, you know, a fairly high potential for a large claim there, so they happen. Then before we get to the very last page, there's the horizontal bar graphs, just looking at the pool as a whole again. And you can kind of see that you are following very closely with the rest of the pool in terms of those slips and falls are number one in frequency and severity for the pool as a whole. And then, you know, inmate related, typically use of force things happening in the jails is a significant portion. And then on the severity on the bottom there, back to your point about the training, you're not the only county that experiences those either, unfortunately. So it is a substantial injury source for sure.
I'm going down through there by department. Specifically looking for the slip, trips, and falls. I've got a few, I got including one in your office that was reported and no dollar cost. So I've got a few of those in there. I think that increases our reported numbers there. Although then you have specific claims that come in, you know, it looks like there may be just a doctor's visit or something like that, but then you also have, you know, there's a $25,000 one.
Right.
Slip, trip, and fall. So we may have inflated numbers of slips, trips, and falls as a rule. A lot of those, I think, are lesser injuries, with a few of the larger ones thrown in there just for good measure, I guess, right?
Right, yeah, that's one way to look at it.
But as your frequency goes up of slips, trips, and falls,
So does
your potential for a serious injury, right? I may slip on the ice and fall on my rear end and well, I'm sore for the day. But the next person may fall forward and fall flat on their face, or may hit the side of a car door and it's all of a sudden $150,000. Because we go, we're okay allowing, as long as we have less than 25 slips, trips and falls, we don't deal with it, we don't touch it, we don't do any training, we don't do any educational campaigns. And then pretty soon we've got losses that we can't mitigate. I mean, and I don't want to beat this up either, and this isn't the place to have this conversation necessarily fully, but this, I mean, these are very concerning things to me because we're trending upward, we're not trending down.
Right.
And as we saw last year, our self-insurance fund got hit even more than what we originally had budgeted for, or it was more than what we thought it would be, and we're wondering what's it gonna be this next year, and trying to cut things out of their budget, not make our budget go up, so.
And it's multiple departments that we have them in. I mean, we got, there's.
Yeah, all of us need to
Landfill, health
Low down
department,
and-
we got, and social services, and we've got road and bridge, and we've got the sheriff, and so it's not like it's a particular department falling down on their
No.
training, it's countywide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it absolutely is. Yeah.
So we'll put that on the to-do list for HR. Sorry, Bob.
I guess that's
I had
on
to throw
Bill.
that out there. Go ahead, we're sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. And to your point, what you said is exactly right. The more you have, even if there's no dollar associated, it's kind of an indicator that you have that potential to have the dollar show up later. So it's kind of a, if you're having those without a cost, that's kind of your warning that
Mhm.
we need to pay attention. So. The very last page here again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but just to give you an idea of, the workers' comp claims that the pool experiences as a whole. You can look through and see what those are on there. And again, the main point with that, you look on there, slips, trips and falls, top line, and then after that, a lot of things are related to lifting, body mechanics, just, heavy exertion type things, whether that's, lifting a box in an office or road and bridge folks doing their thing, so. Those are always, anywhere that I've been, it's always gonna be those types of things, number one, number two. So, I just wanted to leave you with, some services that we can offer to hopefully help combat some of these. We already talked about the HR consulting and Siri and the pre-loss legal services. We also do contract review, the last one I remember seeing was for a lease that the company was, leasing some office space to somebody. We can look at contracts. And then, of course, loss control training, whether it's, defensive driving, I've done classes on slips, trips and falls. All those things, I'm always happy to come up and help with those, facility audits. And anything else, if there's something I didn't mention that you're interested in, just reach out and we'll do our best to give you a hand. So I just wanted to leave you with, we talked a little bit about the benefits of the pools and kind of being able to keep you in a pretty narrow range in terms of budgeting. And then, the last thing is CTSI, we are owned by our county members, so we are here to work for you. We all need to work with counties. The contribution funds that we have, that is, kept in banks around Colorado, so really we are county run, and we're run by board members or commissioners from our member counties, so we're, I think, as local as you can get in terms of your insurance options. So
All counties signed up, or Denver still not?
we have I believe we have 50 altogether, most of the larger metro counties that are
On their own.
yeah. So, but yeah, thank you again for your time, and thank you for continued membership. Yes, anything else I can try to answer for you?
So who should I contact or who should I get a hold of for budgeting purposes for what those fees will, because I hit in February, I believe. Who can I call to find out what a proposed budget, so I can put start putting some numbers in there?
Yeah, Bob, or I just call our main office and just
Okay.
they'll direct you with what your question is.
Okay.
Narrative maybe, but
Okay.
I periodically reach out and
Okay,
ask around and poke to find out what I can,
thank you.
but yeah. It's been my experience that it's October, maybe before there's
Okay.
rumblings,
Okay,
but I've never seen it work, those rolling out to work with counties. Developing their budget, it always seems to be behind the ball,
Okay.
unfortunately, just because statutory requirements for having a budget.
when's CTSI's fiscal budget year? Is it? January through December?
I better not even answer. I've only been here a few months.
Okay.
I could guess, but I will rephrase and guess.
I'll bet it is.
A non-answer is way better than a
They-
non-answer, right?
Thank
Generally, at their all board meetings is when I've seen those numbers be handed out.
Okay.
Or shortly thereafter, or in conjunction with that renewal meeting,
Okay,
when they end. So that'll be in Westminster.
Right.
I guess it's always been the target date. Sometimes they have.
Yeah.
But should be able to come up with that window, that narrow window that you spoke of. We should be able to have something
it's one line item.
a rough
So,
placeholder to be able to put in our.
Yeah, and based on the trend, we shouldn't be surprised.
yeah,
So,
shocked.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
before you take off, based upon this. Not necessarily based upon your charts or anything like that. But I would just ask from the liability standpoint, is there anything that you're seeing that as a county, Custer County is jumping off the page at you?
Not really. I mean, when I went through here, the only thing really was just the number of slip strips and falls seemed maybe a little bit elevated, but being a smaller county, it's kind of hard to say for sure with just having a smaller sample size too, but that was probably the one thing that kind of said, oh, that looks like it's high.
And throwing the cap in there as well. Nothing major.
No, I mean, nothing really was standing out too much there in the cap. Probably again, just with, the smaller county and smaller sample size, but no real definitive trends, I wouldn't say.
Other than our trends.
Yeah.
Because our trends are trending up.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
So, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Greatly appreciate you making the trip, and coming to see us
Yeah.
this morning, so.
Anytime, thank you.
We will have a short recess.
it goes like that anymore, so.
All right. I will reconvene, this meeting at 10:38 a.m. The next item that we have on our agenda would be Lot 8A, Block 1, Golden Arrow Valley. That's a county-owned lot. Lucas, I think you brought this.
What are we considering it for?
She would like to buy that. A lady,
Okay,
brought this and she'd just like to buy it, and so. Are we willing to
put it up for sale, we'd have.
put it up for sale, put it out there for bid, and what's that time frame?
Yeah.
So I guess to get the ball rolling, I move that we sell Lot A, Block 1, Golden Arrow Valley. And we put it up, out to bid for 2 weeks. I would say we make it so that the bid has to be back before the first meeting in September.
First meeting's not far, but you want 2 weeks, don't you?
Yes, and wouldn't that be 2 weeks though?
When I looked at the calendar, you advertised the 29th and the 5th, so then maybe decide on the 11th.
Right,
Oh, okay, we could do that,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
where's the, you got a picture of that somewhere?
I don't, I was hoping. Yeah, I don't,
Just describe it, where is it?
it's in Silver Cliff. That's all I know.
On the north side.
So that
I
would
would guess
be
it's,
Golden Arrow. Is that up there where we had all those other lots?
All those ones that you guys vacated
Is that the one
a few
on,
years back.
on the, on?
North on,
north of 90
Oak Creek
of
Grade.
96?
North of 96, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
I think it's up there in that little subdivision where we had sold and redid all those lot lines.
Okay.
This lady,
I move that we, sell lot 8A bulk, what is that, block 1, Golden Arrow Valley. And put it out for consideration for bid, and have it due back on the 11th. On the 11th meeting, we'll discuss it.
so I'll have it back by the 10th, so we can
Yeah.
open it up on the 11th. Right.
Lucas already made a motion.
Did you make a motion? I'll second it.
Yeah,
I didn't hear you make it. Oh, you did? But
Okay, let me-
That's when I asked for what?
yeah.
Okay,
right. It's
so let
okay.
me restate the motion. Kelly, correct me if I am wrong. I have a motion on the floor to put up for sale Lot 8A, Block 1, Golden Arrow Valley subdivision to be advertised for 2 weeks. And the bids will be due by September 10th. To be opened on the 11th. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Discussion.
None for me.
Public comment. Hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries.
This is, the lady that brought this owns the lot just next to it, so lot 7 or lot 9. And then the other ones on the other side are owned by other people, so it's just kind of a one little weird parcel in there that we own, or we ended up with, or whatever.
They own on one side and somebody has the other side.
Yeah, so we're locked in there for whatever reason. I think there was actually 2 lots that kind of got 8A is twice as big as any of the other lots there. So. Sorry, I don't have a map of that.
So that would be one that initially we had abandoned the inner lot line on that then.
Yeah, where somebody had when we ended up with it, so.
I think those are the ones that you guys did.
Yeah, we did those, I think,
Oh,
prior, Lucas,
okay.
Yeah, we
so. Cause we had an awful lot of undersized lots that were non-usable for anyone involved.
So BL before Lucas, huh?
I could have said prior.
Prior works too.
Okay. Next item would be the Metro One ambulance officer. Oh, no, we did not.
Yes, you did.
Yes, we did.
We did?
We didn't vote.
We didn't vote.
I think they
You
made
guys
the
voted.
motion.
We did?
We made the motion, but
Did
we didn't.
they say aye though?
I don't think we didn't vote.
I put down that you said.
Oh,
Yes,
maybe I did.
we did vote.
Do that until-
All right.
We did vote.
I don't remember.
Kelly is the keeper of the rules
Somehow I
and she
don't
said we
remember
voted.
doing.
Okay, apparently we didn't all get enough coffee over break.
If you wanna say aye again and go-
I'll say aye.
I remember voting and then Lucas added that tidbit of
Oh,
information.
that's right. Yeah, okay.
So our next item would be the Metro One ambulance authorization to operate. And I put this on the agenda. I'm not sure if you guys had gotten the email from them or not. I did, and then I wanted to put it on the agenda to address. This is a company, I'm looking for their letter now. Out of Colorado Springs, they're not looking to provide 911 service in the county, but they do have transports that do originate in our county. Per the new regulations, they're allowed to do up to 12 without an authorization. And we chose to provide authorizations. And we have furnished that to Custer County EMS. But they're allowed to do 12 without the authorization. If they hit 12 or more, then they need authorization from the county. They do not anticipate reaching the number of 12 transports, but we're looking for the authorization just in case. And that is what I know.
So we authorize them, if we authorize them, they can do 1,000 of them. I mean, is it limited?
Unless we put a stipulation on the authorization, I suppose.
Yeah, I would guess it could do, it would be infinite number.
And technically, if you gave them authorization to operate, they could actually come up and start operating in the county.
Is it, expired? Is it yearly?
It's an annual authorization that we provide, and the county is able to go back in and take away an authorization as well. And that's a lot of that information was provided by, I believe, Steph on the initial authorization that we gave to them. Personal opinion on it, I would be very willing to let them come up and do theirs if they got close to their 12 transports to look at it again, rather than just giving them the authorization just because they think they may hit the number at some point during the year. But that's the personal opinion.
How do they get called? Do they get called out because we're already busy? Or how do they end up in the county, I guess?
They're providing a transport service, so rather than the emergent ambulance service, they also provide like AMR. So AMR a lot of times will go and pick up from, say, St. Thomas More and take them to Penrose Hospital. Those are transports. Sometimes you will also have that from, say, home health care. And that I imagine that is from the gist of what I have read from this, the individual that sent these, is that is what is happening there. And so they have transports that they take to hospitals somewhere that originate in Custer County.
Okay.
So what's the downside? You know, do they crash into each other if everybody's rushing to the same person? Who brokers, how do they get called?
I don't believe that they're rushing in. They're called, and this is not an emergent type situation. This is only a transport service, so no lights, no siren. It's an ambulance that comes to more than likely someone's home, or I suppose they could even come up to Valley to transport someone
Could be in there.
that needed to go somewhere else.
Well, it could end up coming to
Um,
the clinic if
Sure.
REMS is already busy too, so.
Yeah, so,
I don't think there's a problem just giving them a waiver, and then we can always check to see if there's an issue.
Mhm. Well, and I don't think we wanna deal with this later, so it's better to
No,
deal with it
better deal
now
now.
before an emergency would happen to happen, or they come back to us because they're up to 12, so.
yeah,
All right, I'll move that we authorize Metro One ambulance to operate in Custer County.
I'll second.
so I have a motion on the floor to provide an authorization to operate two Metro One ambulance out of Colorado Springs.
Sure.
Any discussion on that, gentlemen?
Good.
I would say also in the initial letter, they did state the fact as well that they are a sister company to MedRide. So it's a similar type situation. But MedRide is not part of this authorization. This is only Metro One.
Sure.
Anything else?
Nope.
Public comment? Those in favor?
Aye.
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 I remember that one, Kelly.
That motion carries. Last item would be airport board member appointment.
Yeah, I put this on here. They had actually sent a letter out that never got anywhere back in June, and this is filling the vacancy that Ludi Lutz did because of medical reasons. She resigned, so this is the gal that's replacing her. Happens to be JC's wife, who has, as you see, a very qualified person to be out there, and she is doing a great job. So this is just formal recognition from us. They already have approved the appointment. And they're willing to go forward there.
She own a plane?
No.
It's not a requirement to be on the board?
No, not
How about a space shuttle?
yeah, yeah, just so the people out here know, kind of people that we get out there, a lot of really fine people. JC Nate himself was an engineer with Houston at the NASA in Houston. Here's hers. She says she appreciates this opportunity. I also understand there may be a consideration for 2-year term. I'm willing to serve for 2 years. My background: worked for National Aeronautics Space Administration, NASA, at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas for 8 years. Served as administrative support for several organizations: Shuttle Payloads Office, Space Flight Training Office, and Space Station Payloads Office. And she's an excellent secretary. I've watched her in motion out there. So she's doing well.
Well, I move that we accept Kimberly Ann Nandon as an airport board member.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to accept Kimberly Ann Nandon for a position, a 2-year position on the airport board. Any further discussion?
No,
Do you want it for 2 years, or is she filling, is she?
Oh,
the rest of
is that the airport board, is that 2-year
Lucy's
term?
spot?
it's Ludi's spot, but I think they're extending it, so we can clarify that when we get that. Right.
It would actually probably need to fill in Duty's term so that they don't get out of sync on their.
Right, I would think you don't want the rotation, so I'll find that. I think we just phrase this for up to 2 years, depending on the.
Well, let's just make it for the remainder of the term, and then when they re-up, then
Upgrade it, yeah.
we'll
Okay.
That's
approve
easy.
them.
So you would like to amend your motion to that?
Yeah, I'd just like to make my motion that.
Okay,
I'll make my second.
okay,
That was easy.
that will work. Public
Good
comment,
question.
I think she's a huge asset.
we'll change things, so I wanted to make sure I asked. You said I asked it already?
No, I said, I think she'd be a huge asset.
Okay,
Yes, yeah.
She's really good to work with.
Thank you for that. Sorry I didn't hear you as well the first time. Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Any additional items of business?
One thing I want to bring up, so that triangle piece lot there. Where Silver Cliff has their little, they have those tourism boards up and those big rocks and stuff. So we own that, and I think that's on a, 99-year lease or something like that to Silver Cliff. Is that something that we want to consider giving to Silver Cliff? Getting it, just cleaning up some of our items out there. But anyway, I just wanted to, I drove past it the other day and I noticed it was on our stuff, so.
Either that, or we start charging rent for sign.
Probably included in the lease. That's why they leased it.
I don't know,
Yeah,
just a thought, maybe.
Find out, let's see.
And then I guess I just wanted to add that next week's meeting is on Thursday. BOCC, regular BOCC meeting at 9 o'clock. And then the audit report from our auditor on that afternoon at 1 o'clock, same room, same building.
And that's just a workshop, right? The audit.
It's just a special meeting, so.
So it is a special.
Yep, it's a special meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
that-
They have-
yeah. That's what you announced at the front of this meeting, was Bernardo's coming that day, but that's the 20, that's 20.
29th.
29.
Yes, sir, Thursday, the 29th, at 1 o'clock.
In other words, we're not getting him twice.
Nope, just once.
Okay,
That's all I have.
all right.
Good.
Weed board's meeting. I think next week. I got that posted for them yesterday. All right, no additional items of business, public comment. Yeah,
I just have a question. The weeds along the Highway 96 are really high. And being an older citizen, in the evening with a lot of deer that cross, it's not near as safe to have those weeds right up next to the road. You can't tell if it's a deer or if it's a weed. I didn't know if there was any, like if Road and Bridge was gonna do mowing at some point.
and the highway is actually state highway. But I'll tell you what I can do is I can reach out to them up there in West Cliff. They actually started out of West Cliff a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. They came a couple miles and it died. So I don't know if their equipment is down or what.
I just think it's a lot safer.
I might reach out
It's clear on the side.
to, I will reach out to the state barn and see what the issue is. Because it is bad, and up here by the dairy is a natural crossing, and we talked about it when we came.
Population here, so.
Well, it doesn't matter, even if you're young.
If you step out there, you don't know if it's a weed or a deer, so.
We have no time.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
55 miles an hour, if you're doing the speed limit, 55 miles an hour has a great stopping distance when they come out, and they're already in the lane of traffic when they step out.
Thank you.
So Gayla and I were talking about it last night when we came down, and because
you
they're
really
getting
notice
as
it
bad, if
immediately.
not worse than what it was between here and Pueblo before they got that mowed, so.
You also have to watch the Amish and their
Yeah.
buggies and horse. Because they're going up that hill right over here and people are just buzzing around. I don't know, it's pretty. I don't know what you can do about that, but
Accidents can happen.
yeah.
Anything else? That being the case, I will adjourn this meeting.